Hey guys, Brandi here, Community Cares Peer Outreach. Um, Grateful recovering addict. I just wanted to come on. I was going to do an interview with somebody else, another addict, but they were busy. So I thought I'd come on here and do a question and answer because some of my friends had questions and some viewers had questions. So the first question is, what trauma led to this? Well, let me tell you. So, when I was a kid, my dad was an alcoholic. He's like 30 something years sober now, so that's really awesome. But when we were kids, he was an alcoholic. So, my mom and dad kind of had their thing going on. So, there was a lot of addiction in our family right off the get go. But I think I was able to get through that as a family. We got back together, kind of deal, and everything was great. So it wasn't that was my trauma. I got together with a guy that was 10 years older than me who put me in situations I shouldn't have been in, asked me to do things I shouldn't do. Um, just made me responsible for things that at the age I was with him from 14 until like late 20s, something like that. But yeah, we were together. There was a lot of dealing and stuff like that, a lot of stress in the household. And I found Dilaudid, these amazing little pills that made me feel great. They made me feel on top of the world. I didn't feel the pain. I didn't feel not good enough. And so being that we were dealing, shitty as it is, we were dealing, we had access to things like this. Like they were left out in the open for me to access. So I started accessing this and taking it, and to point out it was nobody's fault but my own. The kind of struggle I went through and the fact that I became a drug addict, it was me. Like I made the choice. So yeah, so I like that's how I started. I just found these pills and I was like, hey, these make me feel great and I'm so awesome now. And yeah, so um another question was what drug? So I mean, a drug is a drug is a drug. Like it could have been a Tylenol, it could have been a Percocet, it could have been a Dilly, it could have been at one point I was and had done heroin. Like I mean, I didn't inject it or anything, but I did snort it. Like for being raw and being honest, there was a point in my life where I went to NA and then I go right across the street next door neighbor and grab some drugs. Like I lied to myself for years and years and years. So yeah, so opiates, anything that was opiate, anything that I could get my hands on pretty well. Um, how did it make me feel? Well, you don't feel pain in your body. You don't feel pain in your mind. Your emotions are pretty well dead. So I mean, you feel great, you think, for the first little while that you do it. And then with morphine and any opiate like that, anytime that you do a prolonged time with it, you end up with a mean streak. They call it, like the drug's not doing what it's supposed to anymore, make you feel good, take the pain away. Like it builds up in your system and it's not delightful. So I mean, I thought it was great and it made me feel good and it did at the time. And I didn't remember all the shitty things that I'd gone through, and I didn't remember how I would never be good enough for somebody, or yeah, so it made all those things go away. So it made me feel good. So I thought, um, what steps did I take to get sober? Like my first steps of recovery. Well, my mom told me that if she caught me doing dope again, or snorting anything, or taking a pill, or nodding off in front of my family, or hanging out with my kids like that, that she would call the Child Protective Services, which I fucking love my mom. I think she's amazing. The things that she has done and the things that she has said to make me a stronger person, she's amazing. I thank you, mom. Thank you, Kathy. Man. But yeah, so my mom told me, she goes, if you do dope again, I will call your kids in. You will not have access to them. And it was that minute I was allowed to have a restart on my life. If I wanted to make a shot at it, my ex at the time was willing to take the kids for a little bit so I could get my shit together. My parents were willing to let me surf on their couch for a while. So I did that. And I was just able to get better. I got really, really sick at first, and then I got way better. So that being said, in all of our communities, there should be access to mental health and mental help and check-in areas and nursing stations. And so here in the Comox Valley, I went to our mental health and I said, this is my case. This is what I need. I was thrown into the NA world, did 90 meetings in 90 days. That's a lot of work, but it was like, it was the push I needed. There was family, there was people that were fucked up like me out there, and I wasn't alone. Like, so yeah, so to get sober, I went to mental health meetings in the morning, which built my confidence, my self-esteem, all those little things that you don't have when you're a drug addict. Reminding me that I was worth people, I was worth attention, I was worth love, I was worth all those things that I thought I wasn't worth. So I kind of gained all that back. So I'd go to mental health for a couple hours in the morning. I would go to a nooner if I felt weak, and then I would go to a meeting in the evening to cover my meeting or my evening up to kind of fill it up, and then I'd go home and I'd hang out with my parents. So I did like, yeah, 3 solid months of that till I built my strength and stuff. Meanwhile, seeing my kids within that time, the ex brought the kids to me, and so things were good that way. So I started building everything back and kind of started getting my whole entire life back. How do you cope now? Oh, in the world we live in now. I realized how vulnerable I am. I realized that any day I could fall back into addiction, and that I'm no different than anybody who's still using, or an hour clean or 10 years clean, because it can happen. Like, it's so how do I cope? I use positivity. If I'm feeling the need to not feel great about myself, I go to my parents' house, hang out with them. I reach out to my friends. I spend a lot of time outdoors. So that's when coping. I don't hide it. When I'm struggling, we're all struggling. Like, so if I'm having a rough day and my friend is not busy, I will tell her about it and she will be part of it. And then my mom will be part of it. So I cope by being aware and being vulnerable. Like, I use my addiction as ammo. Like, you can't come at me and be like, oh, you're an addict. I'm like, hey, I'm an addict. Let's not go there, because we can't do this, this, that, and that. I don't do this, this, that, and that. And I don't back this, that, and that. So yeah, so I make people aware that this is my vulnerability, and I will always be an addict. I'll be a recovering addict, but I'll always be just a step away from that could be me. What are my triggers? Oh wow. People, I guess not people. That's more like a PTSD trauma trigger. Pill bottles, hearing pill bottles, seeing other people do things and have fun, even if it's drinking, just any kind of socializing activity. Like, I have to be like, no, I need to be at home. I need to have a cup of tea. I need to do what my thing is. And so I try and stay away from triggers. There's smells that really bug me. There's places that really bug me. There's people that really see me that trigger me. There's so many triggers out there. You just have to be aware that it's not in addiction. I don't have one specific trigger. That's one thing I couldn't figure out, was what my trigger is that no matter what, I could be happy and use, I could be sad and use, I could be mad and use, I could do anything, and I just wanted to use. So there was no trigger for me. But once I figured it out, it was the trauma that was the trigger. Like, you went through some really shitty things, and then every time you get into a bad situation, or somebody yells, or you hear, like, say, a pill bottle or a smashing of a pill, or yeah, anything, like, just being honest, those are the things that kind of trigger me. What do I do for self-care on hard days? What do I do for self-care? I buy these nifty little candles from this West Coast comfort place. I stop into my girlfriend's Bubble and Fizz bath shop, because that makes me feel better. Like, if I can go and light a candle and soak in a bath and just get real with myself and be in the present, that's the best form of self-care. The other one is I do beach class. I love the beach. I love animals. I love the beach. I like being outside. I whine about the cold constantly, but really, I love it. I love it outside. So that, I eat good food. I sit down and get like in the moment, get in the present, like cook yourself a good meal, like be in the moment for that meal, be there. Like, there's so many things that you can do for self-care. It's not just one thing, or one thing that you do, or one place that you go, or so that's self-care. If there's one thing I could tell my younger self with the wisdom I have today, what would it be? You know what it would be? It would be, little B, don't ever quit trying. keep trying. Even if you fail, keep trying and trying and trying. I lived with addiction from like my early 20s until like late early 30s. So for a good chunk of my life, I lived with addiction and I kept relapsing and relapsing. Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get this? What is the deal? Like, I feel like I want to stop so bad, but yet my body won't let me stop. And so I wish that I had have just known that if I keep trying, that sooner or later I'll put myself in the right place with the right people, and they'll give me the support that I need to love myself until I can. And they'll show me techniques on how to change things and how to not be responsible for other people. And just, yeah, so if I could tell myself something, the little bee in me, if I could tell her something, it would be don't ever stop trying. Just even if you're failing, just keep fucking trying. Even if you fall off a wagon, even if you argue with somebody, whatever it is, like, please keep trying. Like, just keep trying. So another one is what's life like today? life today life today is trying. I struggle. Things get hard, but I realize that if I at least just be aware of it and I take everything in stride and I try my hardest and I don't slip back into old patterns, I feel things are really good. I have amazing kids. My kids are freaking amazing. If you knew them, you know them, you know. But I have my amazing kids. They keep me busy as can be. Um, I work and volunteer in an amazing shelter that keeps me aware of what's going on out there and the struggles that people are facing and the things that people need. Hence is why I'm doing this. Like, I just want people to be aware that these people that are addicts like myself, which I look pretty good for an addict, right? A recovering addict, that these are all real people. Like, everybody needs help. We just have to figure out what kind of form of help it is. So yeah. How did you keep a positive attitude? I went to NA, and the first thing that they preached to me was, you need to pick a God. You need to pick a God. And I was like, I hate God. I'm not into God. And it wasn't that I wasn't into God or that I hated him. It was that I didn't have God. I didn't know who or what to follow, or I've never been religious. I've gone to church, yes, but I've never, there's no God to me. Like, so my way of getting through it was that if I had to sit through that, then I had to pick a God of my understanding, like they tell you. So I picked positivity as my God of my understanding. Like, when everything is at its worst, there's always a silver lining. So if you're learning a lesson, that there's always something that's good that's going to come out of it. Or if you're having a rough day, like, there's always good that's going to be there. You just have to decide whether you're going to see it or whether you're not, and whether you're going to choose that way or this way. Or so yeah, how did I stay positive? I chose positivity as my higher power. Like, how can you go wrong with that? Like, choosing to be happy and choosing a higher power. So that was how I kept it. Another one, when did I realize I was an addict? Ooh. I realized I was an addict when I first withdrawed. I got super, super sick. The boyfriend didn't really know what I was on or what I was doing or how much access I had to these drugs. And so, yeah, I'd used and used and used. I got an opiate addiction, which back then Purdue Pharma was kicking all those opiates and stuff like that. And they were kind of starting to get under attack. So back when I was in addiction, people, it wasn't a big thing. Like, people, we knew about drug addicts, but we didn't know about the opiate crisis and everything that was going to come with it. So yeah, like, when I first realized I was an addict was when my boyfriend couldn't handle how sick I was. And he was like, come on here, Buttercup. We're going to take you up to your parents' house and we're just going to drop you on the door. And he did. And I ended up in the house and I was literally like dying. I felt like I was dying. Like, I couldn't keep in anything, any which way, like, no way. I had the shivers and shakes, the pains that were unbearable. I couldn't complete a thought. I couldn't sit still. Like, my mom had no idea. And then she had contacted the boyfriend again, like in my story, how I told it. She contacted the boyfriend and asked what was going on. And he said, oh, well, she's a drug addict. She's doing these drugs, rah, rah, rah. So yeah, that was kind of when I figured out I was a drug addict. I admitted defeat. I tried rehab once or twice, got kicked out of there. Surprise, surprise. Um, in the end, it was losing my kids was the eye opener for me. And now I'm doing 5.5 years sober. Helping run a warming center, working with addiction people and homelessness and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's kind of the rest of my story. Any more questions you guys want answered, let me know, and hopefully I'll have some new material up and running in the next couple of days. Maybe in the next couple of months, I'll get a real camera and I'll actually study this thing instead of shaking it around. Okay. Love you guys. Stay safe. Stay safe. Night, guys.